reports.
Oh, now I can hear you guys. Good evening.
All right, Paul.
How's everybody?
Good. Oh, that's close. All right, let's call the meeting to order. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
For which
for
it stands.
one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. First of all, we have the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve? Go a second.
I'll second.
All right, any discussion on any of the items, anything you want pulled out to do separately? Everybody good? Okay. All right, all in favor? Aye.
Right.
All right, board president and vice president reports, really nothing for this week. I'm supposed to be talking to Tim tomorrow, I think. Cheryl?
Yes, tomorrow morning we're talking to him at 9.
So we'll talk about that next time. And vice president is being entertained. Superintendent report.
Good evening, everybody. Nice to see you all. I want to start out with first welcoming our Kevin Ziemba, our interim school business administrator.
Welcome,
Hey,
Kevin.
Kevin. Nice to meet you. You look familiar, Kevin. Have you been here before?
No, I haven't, but I've been an experienced business administrator in other public schools across the state. So you may have seen me in kind of the school board events or conference or training program or somewhere along the line.
Yeah, very good.
And just want to give a shout out to our English and New Language department and teachers. They held an event the other night at Elm for elementary students, and it was called Blasting Off with Literacy. So there was a small group of families and children there, just sort of celebrating language through poetry, arts and crafts, and words. So it was a very nice evening.
Sorry, everybody.
High school athletics is on Principal Cabello's list of things to shout out and celebrate, so I'll leave that to him. And just news and updates. I don't know if you remember, but we spoke about our stimulus funding. It was a while ago, and we put out a thought exchange and gathered ideas from folks in the community, from the board, from administration, teachers, and staff. And we landed in some buckets of areas of need. But just to go back to sort of what that money is, it's called ARP. And the allocation is $847,849. And the deadline for submitting has been pushed, just because we're trying to figure out how to best use this money. And we've been gathering data throughout the months on how to best use it to support our children in schooling loss and other areas of the district. So it's been pushed to December 15th, 2021, the deadline. And we spend it over 3 years. So it ends in 2024. So we're planning for 3 years to use this money. And $169,570 must be used for schooling loss. But I think in our many conversations, we'd like the bulk of this money to go towards schooling loss and supporting our children achievement academic. And so throughout the months, we've been looking seriously at data to inform our decision making. And there are 2 areas that we've identified that would greatly help support our teachers, our administration, and our children. And that is through instructional coaches, ELA and math, and a school psychologist. And so I gave you a narrative. Caroline was very instrumental in providing the information on why we are proposing both of these areas. And so instructional coaches, just throughout the pandemic, and even pre-pandemic, we were talking about, there's been a widening gap of engagement in performance and student achievement, and for various factors. They weren't here, right, for a lot of the time. They were remote, or they were hybrid. There was different kinds of supports at home, time spent on learning and teaching, resources, social emotional support. So all of these factors really informed our proposal for coaches in both ELA and math. And this, and do you want to add anything, Caroline? Okay.
Well,
Do you have any
these are-
questions?
But these are repetitive charges. I mean, if we hire another school psychologist, they might give us the money for it this year, or maybe even for 3 years.
Mhm.
But at some point, it's on our dime. And how do we fit that? You know, we have to make sure we can fit it underneath of our tax cap. We don't blow through that.
Mhm.
And this, I would assume, doesn't count against our tax cap?
Correct. We would, if we decided that we wanted to keep the instructional coaches and the school psychologists, this is really for helping the current over time. We could start building it into the budget if we decided that we wanted to keep these positions. But we don't know what the future holds, quite honestly. So we say we need a school psychologist now or for at least the next 3 years, but will that need still be a need at the time?
Well, just make sure the two things. I mean, one is, let's make sure we don't miss the 15th so that, you know, we don't want to end up losing the money. But the other is we really have to start identifying these things that we're making, you know, that we're buying, whether it's these positions or it's equipment or whatever. We have to look at the long term of what is this going to cost us, you know, if we're buying, we're buying some sort of piece of equipment. Do we have the money to maintain it? Because, you know, we don't want these things that just, they last 3 years and we throw them in the trash because we didn't take care of them. So I'm assuming you guys are putting together a whole plan that shows how this comes together in the future.
Or would that take up the amount? It seems like the amount would be higher than that, depending on how many coaches you hire.
Yeah, it'll take the big chunk of it.
Okay.
Absolutely. Mhm.
And that's over 3 years, so that you're looking at.
Correct.
Could we maybe not also maybe entertain that not rent? I'm like missing the word, but my God, I can't even think of it. Great, contract out either. I mean, if this is something that we need now, would it be like a 3-year contract and then we could contract it out to other people? Or would we think about doing that now instead of hiring them? And maybe we could contract out with a couple more psychologists, or is this exactly what we need? It was just a thought. I don't know if that's, it wouldn't meet our needs, maybe.
Yeah, so the per diem rates are often really high, so they're not cost effective. I can tell you that some of the consultants that, you know, even through BOCES, we're talking like $1,000 a day, minimally, right? And that's through a BOCES contract for some of them. So at that point, by the time you look at the number of days we would actually need, it's actually probably more cost effective to bring somebody in and have them full-time, full days.
Okay, yeah.
But is it legitimate to, let's say we brought, you know, a counselor in for, you know, for the 3 years. I assume we would put them on, you know, being evaluated. And then is it legitimate to just say, you know, that position doesn't exist anymore if we have to shut it down in 3 years?
Right, so I think we would always need to continuously evaluate, and, you know, some of the preventative services that they could offer and some of the supports that the coaches could put in place might close some of the gaps, and we might not require some services in other areas. So, you know, over
Yeah.
time, people do retire, they move on, so just because we bring someone on doesn't
Mhm.
mean that that is the what, you know, might go away in the future. We might not need that third, but we might have someone, that fourth psychologist, but we may have someone moving on in the next couple of years, you know, so there's plenty of things that happen like that. People retire, you know, people take other employment. So sometimes it works itself out.
That's one of the reasons that we need a long-term financial plan. Because quite honestly, I mean, the fact that people retire and then we backfill the position. We're still paying the retirement for the person that left, and now we've got another person. So if somehow these people, we bring them on for 3 years, we can't just say, oh, if somebody retired, so now we get to keep this person, because it's additional cost. We have to really look at, what is this gonna cost us?
Yeah,
Well,
and
you know,
someone would need to do the job of the retired person anyway. So it may mean not going out and hiring another person, right? Like, we don't know what the future is gonna hold, but we know that right now we have a significant impact in social and emotional wellness that's impacting our students' ability to achieve. We also have some, gaps in the education from schooling loss that's happened. This is the 3rd year of a pandemic that we're living through. Thankfully, our COVID numbers have been good lately, but the beginning of the school year was pretty extreme. It was worse than when we thought we were in the thick of it last year. So, there's a lot of work to be done to support our students and in ways that our teachers have not really been asked to before, right? Like, this targeted intervention in the classroom is at such a higher rate than it's been in the past because there's so many students that need that reteaching and support in the tier 1 classroom to get back on grade level. And there's a lot of shifts that need to be made.
yeah, just make sure we have a plan for it. And the other thing, where are we on the December 15th? Are we, all we gotta do is go spell check it, or are we, it's gonna be close if we get this ready?
What we do, it's through the portal, the business portal, which is New York State Ed. And we do an FS10, which is sort of the breakdown of the costs and a narrative as to what we're using this money for. And then it's uploaded and reviewed by State Ed. And if they need more information or more detailed information, we would provide it.
And
And they
assume
also-
that takes place after the 15th, right? If we submit something on the 15th, they still review it and give us feedback.
That's the same with Title I money that we do as well. That's enough.
Well, let's just make sure that we're closing earlier than the 15th, because God knows what could happen.
Yeah, and we have pushed it too. They've been very flexible, knowing that districts are just trying to figure out how to best use this money to help students in a strategic manner. So we've asked to extend it already 2 times. And so they're like, yep, we'll extend it to the 15th, and then make sure you stay in conversation with us if you need any help. And Chris, I just wanted to follow up with your question on this, with the your comment about it's going to take up most of the money. In the CRRSA part of the money, that was $377,000. That included a counselor, but we're proposing a school psychologist because that better fits our needs, and a partial position for maintenance or custodian. So we'll be using the 800, the ARP, for the 2 instructional coaches and other items.
I mean, if we could see a breakdown of what's going into it, my fear is you get to the 14th, you hit enter, and there's $70,000 that went by the wayside.
Oh, yeah, no.
That's what.
Don't you worry.
Just wanna make sure you- that's all.
Yes, you're right. That we don't want to be scrambling and not make good decisions. You're right.
Laura, does summer school funding, well, I don't even know, are the plans for this summer, like last summer, where it would
That's
be,
entitled.
summer school would be available to everyone? Is that,
So
is there funding for that?
that is a totally
That's
separate item.
Different. Okay.
Yeah, so our summer program is typically funded out of the IDEA grants.
Mhm.
So that's specifically targeted at students with disabilities. This past year, we were able to expand it using other grant money.
Right,
So that's not these grants, but that is our grant money.
okay. So is there grant money to offer it?
Yeah, we've done
This,
that
to-
every
to-
year.
But to everybody?
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
okay.
So we've done it every year. We just used other grant money to expand it, and we can continue to do that.
Okay. Perhaps, I don't know if it would be at a board meeting or some other, I don't know, presentation for parents. I know this summer program that was offered to everybody last summer wasn't taken advantage of by that many, and it was new, right? It was wonderful that it could be offered to everybody. But parents start making their plans and, you know, pretty early. So I don't know what the board feels, if we would want to know the plans for that, what that might look like. You know, say January, or, you know, is there planning going into that? Or maybe just information for parents prior to March. Because I really feel like a lot of parents solidify their summer plans already, like in March. And if we have so many children who still need remediation, like, you know, summer would be a great time.
Yeah.
And it's free, right?
And the issue with the summer program is we really need like commitment too. So there are some folks who want to send their students for like a week.
A week,
2
right.
weeks, and like, that's really hard for the, you know, for the structure of the program to have students in and out. So it's not necessarily popular when we have to say, no, sorry, like we really need to. I mean, kids are absent some days, don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
like, you know, if they're gonna participate, we really need them to participate in the whole time. Otherwise, they're not gonna get out of it what's intended. So, you know, it's really to be able to keep them using their literacy and numeracy skills over the summer so that there is no regression in the skills that they've built throughout the school year. So,
I think it's wonderful.
yeah, we can give some, you know, brief information, and staffing is sometimes an issue too. So sometimes the structure of the program needs to shift a little bit based on staffing.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Just a couple of other items at the it's a Lower Hudson Council of School Superintendents monthly meeting that I go to. It's a place where we support one another. We talk about the hot topics in education. And at this particular meeting, we had some heavy hitters. We had Dr. Lester Young, who's the Chancellor of the New York State Board of Regents. We had Dr. Betty Rosa, the Commissioner of the New York State Department of Education, Fran Wells, Board of Regents, and New York State Senator Shelley Mayer there were in attendance. So it was a lively, inspiring, invigorating 2 hours just talking about students and achievement and what we can do as leaders of districts to you know, help our communities, our students, staff really recover from COVID socially, emotionally, academically, and the ideas of that we can generate together in doing so together. So it was a really great meeting. As Caroline said, the COVID numbers are down, so that's awesome. We've been able to actually focus on teaching and learning, which is very nice and refreshing. And then there's the new guidance that came from the New York State Department of Health that our local Department of Health supports as well. So we follow the local and they provide the guidance. So 2 pieces I wanted to highlight is test to stay. And test to stay allows unvaccinated, asymptomatic, close contacts to avoid school exclusion by testing negative with a rapid on each school day for 7 days. So
Would we do that in the school time or?
did we do it this morning?
No.
Oh,
When we implement that, would we do the testing in school for those kids?
yes. And the parent or guardian or whomever would bring that child and not ride the bus. So we're really just waiting for test kits to show up from the Department of Health. And then if it occurs, we're able to support that child and family if they choose to do so. And then the other is test out of quarantine. And a quarantine can now end after day 7 if a person is symptom-free and test negative within 48 hours of that 7th day. So on that 7th day, if that person had a test or within 48 hours of that 7th day, they're asymptomatic and test negative, they can end their quarantine a little earlier and come in on day 8.
Is that a rapid test or is that a full test?
I think it's a rapid test.
It's not differential.
Yeah. So it's another 2 ways that we're able to keep kids and staff in school. Great news.
Just to be clear, that's not an at-home test, that's a rapid test at a facility, correct? Just for those listening.
Yeah, it would
Buying the
also,
CVS and everything.
yeah, so it can also be So for the test to stay, it can be done here. The thing about the at-home test is really more of the efficacy of it. You know, it's not necessarily the quality of the test that is the concern, but if it's not administered correctly, you can, you know, maybe get an inaccurate reading. So because we can't really provide control for that, it would have to be done sometime.
As long as we can keep making progress on keeping them in school.
Yeah, exactly. We were thrilled that the local Department of Health supported this and they were able to support us with the test kits. And that's my report.
All right.
Thank you.
Mike?
So. Let's see. This month was not too good. We had 6 emergencies, 169 medium jobs, 30 date specific. And then we changed oil pump for boiler number 1 at the middle school. Ran 6 new Cat 6 wires to the new PPS offices. The high school and the middle school gym partitions, had them inspected. We hung new smart boards at Alden in rooms 70 and 73. We installed a new huddle camera on the high school field, and that's all working now. That included the electric and the internet cabling.
Where is that, Mike?
Up on the field, you know where the press box is?
Yeah.
Right on top of the press box is that new huddle camera that
Okay.
Al Hammer was talking about. And
Yeah.
I guess it follows the ball or whatever when you're watching a game. So that's all installed now. And working. We hosted 2 New York State Trooper tests on 2 different weekends in the middle school gym. We replaced the motor and bearing in the main office of the middle school. We had all the district lifts and elevators inspected. We installed 8 4-inch ballards in front of the maintenance garage where we had the new front put on. We finally got our post hole digger that we ordered and it came and we installed the ballards, concreted them in. All the snow plows and sanders on all the district trucks and tractors are all ready to go. We had the man lift that we have, it's at the high school right now. We own a man lift. We had that inspected. That needs to be inspected. We measured and flagged the new preschool playground for the digging, which is done already now, you know, but that's ready to go. We're gonna actually start on the playground, putting the base of it together tomorrow. It's the first level of it. Remove the kitchen cabinets in room 11 in preparation for the new superintendent suite. We got ongoing work in the PPS offices. The walls are done and taped and now they're sanded. The electric is done in there. We put 5 new reserve for faculty parking signs in the parking lot. And the COVID cleaning during the day classrooms was 4 classrooms in the high school, 29 in the middle school, 8 at Alden, and 15 at Elm. And then for oil for October, we used 1,088 gallons at the high school, 1,466 gallons at the middle school, 844 gallons at Alden, and 1,797 gallons at Elm, for a total of 5,231.
And Elm, do we have a project open to figure out? I mean, I've been in Elm where one room is like hotter than hell, one room's cold. And it always seems like we burn, for that school, we always burn more fuel oil.
It's steam heat. As soon as the boiler shuts off, the heat stops. You know what I'm saying? Like, as soon as like in the middle school and the high school, when the boiler shuts off and the pumps are running, everything stays hot.
Yeah.
At Elm and Alden, but Alden's a new smaller boiler. Alden makes the steam quicker. So it really doesn't, when the boiler shuts off at Elm, the steam goes down. And when it's cold out in a couple of minutes, it's blowing cold air. Then it has to wait for it to build back up. And then it's got to shut back down. And then it's got to build back up. At Alden, it's a smaller boiler that works quicker. And Alden, you know, and it's a little more even at Alden than it is at Elm. Elm is long down the hallway this way, long down the hallway that way. What we did last night, because we were having a problem with the new pre-K, was hard to heat up in the morning. So we started running the boilers at night and shutting them during the day. And it seems to keep the building better because it's warmer in the morning. And it's
We gotta,
colder out.
I mean, in this long-term plan, I mean, in the, facilities plan. I
Yeah,
mean, 5,000, especially, God forbid, oil stays like, or continues to go up. We'll have to get rid of the retirement plan, just pay for the oil bill. I mean, it's and 5,000 gallons of oil in a month where I think most of it was pretty darn warm, that's a lot of oil to burn through. So we got to make sure that's front and center in our capital project. Anyway, thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Are we all set on the PPS offices there?
I mean, I would be happy not to move anymore.
I
Four
mean,
offices in 4 years, that's probably a record.
well, we can't move you until you get moved to this one, and then we can move you
Yeah,
someplace
exactly. As
else.
soon as I get settled.
So are we, I mean, have you figured that all out and
Yeah, it's all ready as soon as we're done. we'll
So
be-
we're waiting for the HVAC equipment, which was ordered,
okay,
and that goes into ceilings. The electric is done, the cabling's all done, the walls are sanded. We started priming them on Friday. We had some people out today. Tomorrow, we're gonna be in there priming again. I'm trying to get the closet done so we could start moving PPS's stuff from their closet here into that closet, and then we'll give them the keys for the closets. And then I can move some stuff from room 11, computer stuff, into that storage room, because that's gonna be tech. And then, it's like a puzzle, we gotta just keep working on it.
any other questions for Mike?
She was here and.
She was having technical issues. She's actually, she'll be.
Okay. All right, next, we've got, we can switch to, I don't want Steve to get out of here early. Yeah, why
I'll
don't
just
we-
give you the floor to talk.
Yeah. Yeah, we want to get out of here. So go ahead, Steve.
All right, Ellie, do you have the PowerPoint? I do. Mind doing that for you? So while he's getting that up, I spoke to Laura and wanted to present to you all, the process that we go through, to get redesignated as a schools to watch. So as you all know, back in 2019, we were designated as a essential element schools to watch. So we are now up for redesignation. So I wanted to just let you guys know a little bit of what that process looks like, and some of the things that were basically uncovered. So the first part is that we have to put together a writing team. So essentially, we put together what ended up being a 115 plus page document, which goes through just absolutely everything that happens. While this is a middle school specific thing, it's certainly far bigger than Millbrook Middle School. It's all about the way Alden feeds into Millbrook Middle School and the way Millbrook Middle School funnels students up to the high school. In a district like ours, it even becomes bigger than that. So it goes all the way down to even home. So you can see we had a very diverse writing team that starts all the way at the top with Laura and Caroline and Elliot and Victoria in our central office, but then with our principals as well. So Mr. Sype and Mr. Whipko were a part of it. And then Ms. Oberzak and Ms. Mahoney helped me out with a lot of the stuff in here as well. So in order to get this information, it's all about the work that we do in the building, but also where we're at in knowing. So there was a staff survey that we actually did multiple times just to be really thorough. There's one that's done through the schools to watch, and then there was one we did internally as well. So our staff was all part of that process as well in getting all of this information.
So,
Yep.
so, I mean, is it about the results in middle school? I mean, one of the things I think that we've done to hopefully boost up middle school is pre-K.
Yep.
I mean, did we add that? Yeah, because I noticed Mike's not wasn't in that list, but
Yeah, so it's, the only reason is he just wasn't part of the writing team, but you'll see in a minute that pre-K being something we added is part of this story, is part of the narrative. So I'm really glad you asked that question though, because what Schools to Watch is, it's not some trophy or some award that you win. I think that's really important to understand. It's more about a way in which we do business. It's a way we operate in our building. It's the way we educate our students every single day, the programs we choose and why we choose them, and every inch of what we do. So they're broken up into little buckets. So one of the major ones is academic excellence. So I kind of broke it up into three pieces for us, was our rigorous academic schedule and what it is inclusive of, personalized learning, which has been a very specific thing we've been working towards in the last few years. And then the other big thing I want to put out there for everybody that I think is really important that was super uncovered in all of this work was Schools to Watch was really great about saying, we understand you've been through a pandemic. We understand that you've been in remote instruction. We understand, so we're going to be very flexible if you haven't made strides towards more progression. One thing I'm really proud to say is that while you'll notice that there are pandemic accommodations in a lot of these areas, you're also going to notice it didn't stop us from still adding things to our academic program or the other buckets that you'll see in a second. So I was really proud, I think, of the work that we've done, and I want to say not here at the middle school, but in the entire district, to ensure that we were moving our program forward despite what was going on in the world around us. So that was a really great uncovering. So you'll see things like when we talk about the rigorous academic schedule that we do have our graded core classes, but we've made this shift and this refocusing in some of our encore areas, these skills-based areas. We've uncovered all these social emotional issues we're going through, all the pressures, upgrading. So we made some of these skills-based areas ungraded areas,
I just got off the phone with them.
be able to focus better on their academics. We have acceleration going on in lots of places, foreign language, algebra, earth science as well. And then I brought up before the idea of personalized learning, how we really adapted this idea of WIN and the umbrella underneath it that it is inclusive of things like AIS services and all the different practices we use. The big piece of bringing in the benchmark and the data. Back in 2019, when we went to the Schools to Watch conference, our presentation, myself and 3 other teachers, was all about letting the data do the talking and utilizing data to make good informed decisions. We're really proud that now, as we're going to redesignation, all of these processes have been much more, they've been beefed up, first of all. They've been much more strategic, they're much more aligned, and that's something we're really proud of. Going with that, we've also talked about developmental responsiveness. So we've done lots of things in character ed. Way back when we did our Reading is Forever Re1 campaign. We did a whole book, Refugee Read, with all of our students, even through the pandemic, which is really great. We've been continuing with Pride. We have all of these things going on to support our students by supporting our staff, right? So we've added, we have our team time for our professionals. We have even more time at the end of the day now, 40 more minutes, that has now allowed us to not only work at a grade level, but now allows us to work up and down vertically, so that people at different grade levels, 6, 7, 8 in the department can also meet and plan. And it's given us this responsiveness that we can constantly move and change and alter because we have that time built in for our people. Keep going there. So social equity has been a big one too. We've really been making sure that all students have equal access, that the playing field is level. One thing that was incredible was, unlike many districts when the pandemic hit, we were really ready right away to go to a one-to-one technology initiative. This means that all of our students, whether they had technology, at home or not, had equal access to education. Where we really stepped up, I think, as well, was that we went out of our way to make sure we knew who those families were that didn't have internet at home and Wi-Fi, and we made sure it was provided to them. So all students had that, and we were very easily, especially during the pandemic, to adapt to education in a remote, in a hybrid, or any setting whatsoever. We've also done little things like the moves. throughout our building here. Having a good transition, having all our sixth grade down in this wing down here has been really nice. It's really made the transitions for our sixth graders, it's been a nice ease to come into the middle school. Frankly, an added benefit for our seventh and eighth graders being upstairs, it's been a really nice, smooth area for them too. Much shorter distance between classes for the most part. And it's just expedited more instructional time. If you're not walking from the top level to the bottom level 6 times a day, you're gonna be able to get into class, get to things other than your class so that you're prepared to then do that work. These things have been really, really great that we've added, again, through the pandemic. The other big thing I want to throw out there, as I jumped Holly in line, I'm really, really impressed at the way during the pandemic, we were still able to be getting food out all the time to every single family, whether they were here in the building or not. It really speaks to the equity that we were trying to build for everyone. And then just our structures. I mean, we've continued to just change and adapt and add to what we have, whether it be the change in our organizational structure from the deputy superintendent role, the addition of assistant superintendent of tech and facilities, the addition of a supervisor of data and analytics, the pre-kindergarten program. We have really this year stepped up and revamped our MTSS and RTI processes from pre-K all the way to 12th grade. And then we've been doing these really great trainings that we've been very fortunate to be a part of, whether it's the Yale ruler training that we're doing in all of our buildings, as well as the Harvard DataWise team trainings. And all of these things have kind of melded together throughout our district to really create a really comprehensive just educational program for our whole students, not just academics, but also socially and emotionally as individuals. And that's part of the work we do. We continue to improve, right? So we've got our P-12 district planning. We have equitable digital flexibility for 21st century education. This is kind of what I was speaking to before. Our data decision driven making process. Our strategic planning is coming, and there's just so much more. Each and every day, I feel like our teams, both locally in the buildings, as well as when you look at the district teams, we're just always looking for new ways to maximize the talent that we have here in district to make sure that it's improving the product for our students, P through 12. So, you know, the way and the reason that happened is that we've made a commitment, I think, from the central office. And when I say central, I mean all of the administrative team that meets regularly to make sure we're in communication. So we're always working together. We have our ruler teams. So these are some of the updates that are just happening right now. This is a little bit separate of the schools to watch stuff, but all connected because the way we communicate, the way we're interconnected is the important part. So here at Millbrook right now, we're in constant communication. Our ruler teams just finished up their training at the building levels. So what we're going to be doing is now bringing our building ruler teams together to look at a comprehensive plan for rollout for now everybody else in the district. Data work with our grade level trackers, P through 12, using our IXL data is just everywhere throughout the district. We are now as administrators and with the teachers involved in our formal and informal observations. Alden Place wanted to share that they have their concert coming up in December, which is exciting stuff there. We are just wrapping up the first marking period right now. We've got our parent-teacher conferences that start tomorrow. As a reminder for anybody out there, we are on half days the next 2 days, and then in the evenings, we will be having Wednesdays for the secondary and Thursdays for the primary buildings for parents who signed up for those. And our sports are just up and running again. Luckily, we've got late buses back here at the secondary, which is really great, Monday through Thursday. That's been a huge help to those students that need to get home after clubs and sports and all that good stuff. And as we said before, girls volleyball is off to the Final Four, and track just came back from state championships. So we got a lot of really good stuff happening. I ran through a lot there. I don't know if I made it under 10 minutes. I did my best. How'd I do? Oh, I was over. There were people out there betting on it. They won with the over.
Yeah, one thing, I mean, you guys should really consider publishing, not just, you know, going to the NISBA or those things, but actually publishing, like, this is how we survived. Not, you know, we did the first year, we got it the first time, we hit, you know, pandemic hit, but here's all the ways in which you can still survive through it. I think, I mean, it'd be great for the district as a reference, but it'd also be great for you guys and, you know, your careers.
Do more of that. I know Victoria's been published twice this year. And others have been published in the past, so that is a good point. We should
Yeah.
definitely look at that.
Yeah, I mean, for, as a background on that, there was, I had written an article back during designation in 2019. It didn't get published anywhere specifically, but within the schools to watch, I'm gonna call it family, which is nationwide and actually global now. They're spreading out across the country too. These articles do get shared. So the one I had written was about that, just our process for that. So when we did that presentation, it was based on an article or short, I think they called it something practice. I can't remember the term now. But yeah, that's
Yeah, I mean,
something we're definitely considering.
Worst case, you write a paper and you publish it on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
You know, just
Listen,
so.
I think you're totally right. We're doing amazing things throughout the building in so many different facets that I think, especially a lot of the revamping we've done it in a manner that's very strategic and organized. And certainly, I think plays well to reaching out to other people too, so that the things that we're doing that work well here can work other places.
And we are taking the show on the road, so.
Yeah, that's true.
Victoria and Mike and Steve and Elliot will be at NICE this coming week, so they'll be talking about our data systems. Use all of this benchmarking and stuff to work towards student achievement, and then Mike, Victoria and I will be presenting at DayTag, and then we'll also be presenting for the Curriculum Council for Putnam, Northern Westchester, BOCES districts. So,
Well, let me know if you want to present at Dutchess County School Board Association. I mean, every month, it's supposed to be something of interest to all the districts. That'd be something to present yourself, as long as you keep your mask on, so they can't tell who you are.
Well, we don't want to be celebrities.
Steve, thank you though. That middle school, that type of quality care and for the social emotional learning piece, especially for middle school students, but all students, no one can say that we don't care. You're delivering, great academia and the assessments. And that whole program is very, very inspiring. Perry's right. That's not being done all over. That's really good. Thank you guys. Thank all of you. And I know how closely you, Eric, Caroline, you guys all work, that there'll be a link. I don't have to ask, between 8th and 9th. And it's really nice for the kids. Not just nice, very helpful. And I think it could help a lot of kids out, jump into that level and even leave in middle school. But thank you.
All right, any other questions, comments?
Thank you. Thanks.
Next time, 10 minutes.
That was as good as it gets. I was so close.
All right, so did I see Holly join us? Oh, all right. You want to go, Holly?
You're muted, Holly.
You're muted, Holly.
There we go. Hi. Good evening. I submitted a report for the month. So I'm not going to go all through that unless there were specific questions that you'd like to have answered about that. I'm sure you had time to read it through. More specifically, the board and Laura have asked that I speak more to our actual expenditures for the month of September and what was projected for that. And so that was included, that was done and then included in your packet today. I don't know if we have the ability to put that up or not.
So at a high level though, Holly,
Yes.
projected revenue was 47. That's what you were expecting to get?
No, that is what we actually got.
Okay, so, well, why, the other one says actual revenue.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Let me just, hold on one second. Do we have the ability to put that up or do I need to just pull it up on my own?
Pull it up on your own.
Okay.
Thanks, Holly.
This year to date, right?
The top one is September.
Okay. Thank you.
So run me through, so you've got the top two lines are September 2021.
Correct. So the budgeted amount for September for food expenditures was the 17,298. What we actually spent was 20,523, a difference of $3,225. Then the expense budget was 1394.28. What we actually spent was 1,057, and that's a negative of 337.19.
So basically in 1 month, we're down $3,000.
That is correct. But our meals are up.
When I look at that one, I see 47,000 projected revenue, but I see actual revenue of 41,000.
That's correct.
Too.
So you can also see by going line by line that state aid was reduced, which we were anticipating, and it was presented at budget time. And our total federal and state reimbursement is actually up. Where our difference is in other sales, specifically a la carte. What we're finding is that we're serving our meals for free, so very few meals are sold a la carte. Students aren't coming back for a second, or we used to have hot a la carte items that sold. All of our students at the high school can get breakfast for free and take advantage of that, which is great. So the larger part of our deficit is in other sales right now.
But in that bottom, 8 or 10 lines, is that year to date? Is that year to date, or is that just September?
That's just the month of September.
So our revenue was down about $7,000, and our I don't know, expenditures were down, or were over by 3,000, or however you want to look at it.
Right.
So is that we're basically running about for month of the, well, it's not the first month of the school year, but for September, we're 10 grand in the hole.
Just about that. Yep.
Now, do you expect that to I don't know, to recover? Is there money that we should have gotten that we haven't gotten yet?
Well, we'll definitely get our reimbursements each month, by each month, so we can do this again come October. Generally speaking, from what we've seen in the past, September starts off a slower month as far as meals sold, but we have seen progression already. The bigger thing here is going to be getting supplies and where we're going to be able to get them and what we're going to pay to get them.
Yeah. So, I mean, if I extrapolate this for the next 6, 7, 8 months, we're going to be somewhere around 90 grand in the hole.
If we extrapolate it as it is, yeah. We're hoping that that's not going to be the case, that we're going to see that the supply chain gets more fluid. That's not what we're seeing right now. And we just keep hearing the expense is going up and up, and or they just are discontinuing products and not manufacturing them.
Yeah, no, I was more, I mean, is this best case that will be $100,000 over on this budget? Or are we, this is, we haven't even
That would
considered.
never be my best case. I would always hope for far better, but what we're seeing in actual numbers right now, it could look that way.
So can we make any corrections on this? I mean, if we knew, or if we know now that we're not getting state aid that we thought we were gonna get. I mean, there's nothing we can do about prices increasing.
Right.
And there's not much we can do about, if the kids aren't buying, they're not buying.
Right.
So do we slow down on the supplies we buy? I just don't, I mean, this is really a good start, Holly, because it gives us an idea now of what we're probably gonna be staring at at the end of the year. But is there anything that can be done? Like actually a plan to fix this or improve on it?
We know that a weak point is the sale of breakfast. We're significantly low there. So any way that we can boost that in our buildings is always going to be a revenue source for us. So there's that piece. We can
What can we
certainly.
do to do that though, Holly?
I'm not really sure. I know that Mr. Cabello spoke with the students early in the year, and he did a plug and and just notifying people. I mean, I'm still hearing that I didn't know meals were free. So I don't know how to get that information out. It's posted on the menu every month. I know the buildings have done discussions about it, and I know that I started to say Mr. Cabello did a plug for it with the student body, and we saw it double in that week after. It's still a low number. It's only about 30 students at the middle school that are taking breakfast every day. But it just in speaking to the students about it regularly, and letting them know how it works and that they can take it to their classroom, it doubled. So I don't know how to go about verbalizing that and getting it out to parents more readily. And at this, I mean, I would want to think that all the students would know, but I know they don't, because there's children, that you'll see that are like, I didn't know it was free,
I mean, I think what we need is you guys to sit down and develop a plan on how to improve it. I mean, there's nothing we're gonna do about inflation the way it is right now.
Right.
There's probably nothing we're gonna do about the, actually getting supplies. You either get it or you don't. But if we can, maybe it's a whole school program that, we're already at middle of November. Maybe we need to start focusing on how to get this message out, or how to get it out again.
Right.
In different ways. So, when you come back in here, at least to me, when you come back in next month with this report, I want to hear about the actions you're taking to resolve this.
We'll do my best.
Oh, and it's not just you, Holly. I mean, I'm throwing this at everybody that's here and half the others that aren't. Come up with a plan, figure out, this is costing us a ton of money, and if they're not taking advantage of it, how do we get them to take advantage of it?
Well, we've seen a significant amount of growth. It's just not always how it goes,
I just have a quick question for you. On the projected revenue, the bottom total, is that a total of all the numbers that are in red?
Yes.
Because that comes out to a lot more than 47.
I'm sorry, there's a total at the total reimbursement line. So it's the total reimbursement and the three below it.
I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
And what goes under vending?
We have vending machines that we have an RFP with, so we get a percentage of the dollar value that's made in the vending.
Okay, I just thought $10 was very low for a vending machine, but with the percentage, okay.
Especially if we were forecasting $1,000 and we got.
Well, the vending machines need to be off when school is in session.
Okay.
So they are only offered to students after school is closed.
So then why, and this is all like stuff that you really need to work through. But we projected vending at $1,000 that for a month.
Mhm.
If you know that the kids can't use the machines because they're closed basically all day except for the kids in sports or music, we shouldn't have forecasted $1,000 in revenue.
We
So we
did actually make more money in
Sorry.
past. We actually did make more money in those in past years. So it may just need to be a conversation about what's in them and whether students like what the product in it. You know, will depend on whether they're going to buy from them.
Well, that's why I mean, you need to develop a plan. If
Mhm.
it's, you gotta figure out how to 100x the vending machines. Well, get some kids, some students, and what's wrong with the vending machines? Why is nobody using them? Blah, blah, blah. You know, same thing with the breakfast. You know, what's going on with it? Why isn't anybody taking advantage, especially when it's free?
And what's the
So,
break-even point? How many
yeah.
meals do we need to sell a day? Right.
Yep.
With the vending machine, is it, there's not kids in school like there was before the pandemic, so that's why. Is that a factor at all? Like it's only on when they're not in school?
After school, I think it's picked up
Yeah.
as well.
So, but has that dropped significantly or?
There wasn't buses after school for a long time, so kids weren't staying after, but hopefully that's recent.
But to go from $1,000 to $10.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
Pretty
that's
good.
like 10 kids bought a bottle of water. I don't even know what they cost it.
Right. I mean, I would also look at what, out of $7,000 we got in a la carte, what did that consist of?
Yeah.
You know, and how, I mean, that's the deficit right there, is that difference.
Yeah.
Um,
So a la carte is second meals. Any student that would buy a second meal would go into a la carte. The high school and middle school used to have a hot a la carte item that students could buy from the snack line. Any chips, cookies, any of the drinks fall into a la carte.
do we still have all those options, or because of the shortage, we don't have as many options?
They come and go, to be honest. We try to keep them in stock, but they do come and go. Rice Krispie treats, for example, have been horrendous to try to get. And the biggest one I would say is the hot a la carte, because it was huge for the high school, middle school. Students would just buy that from the a la carte line and not buy a lunch.
It's a combination of supply and demand.
Correct.
But a good part of supply, okay.
Mhm.
All right, so next month, let's just keep working to make this tighter and tighter so that we know, you know, that we're doing everything we can to fix it. And we also know, you know, in January, there's a pretty good chance in June, this is what it's gonna look like.
Are we normally on a 45-day turn as far as looking at this? I'm just curious if we have any
Probably
idea.
so. Yep. By the time inventory is taken, calculated, the reimbursements come back, the bills are paid.
So October data would come mid-December?
Probably.
All right, well, then, you know, come back in and give us the, this is where we're headed with this stuff.
Absolutely.
Holly, if the administrative team can help with like advertising for you all, let us know with surveys or whatever announcements.
Thank you.
Put it on the boards, pulling in, why not?
I think Steve should wait at the bus and just hand every kid an exam.
We kind of do that, to be honest with you. I'm outside every day and I'm saying, pick up the breakfast, pick up the breakfast. And I did have an interview today with some middle schoolers for the paper, and they were talking about lunch. So there's gonna be more coming there in the next article.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, none of you can survive without the rest of the team, so that's better that we can expand this thing. Holly can't fix it by herself. So anyway, anything else for Holly?
Thank you, Holly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Holly.
Thank you.
All right. New business, financials and warrants. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, any questions, comments, concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Next one is to, oops. To accept the resignation, I have a motion to accept the resignation of Ms. Sticker.
I'll make the
Lynn,
motion.
I should say. Second,
I'll second.
all right. Yeah, Lynn, I'm sorry to hear it. I mean, it's, but you gotta do what's right. But thank you for all the years. Anything else from the board?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Aye. Any against? And then we have the, oops, we have a motion to accept the, who is this Ragusa?
Guys, reaching out.
Yeah. Do I have a motion to accept the resignation for purpose of retirement for Mike Ragusa? Nobody's moving. Second. All right, Chris and Dave. Any discussion?
Enjoy it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let me try it.
No.
Travel.
Mike, congratulations.
Thank you, Mike.
Right.
You, 17 years don't really count. It's more it feels like 28 years with the mold and the pandemic and everything else. So congratulations and enjoy yourself.
Okay.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Okay, questions from the public? Anything, Cheryl? Sure.
We have none.
Quiet.
Listen, Cheryl, this is going too fast for me now. You guys are,
Why would you open your mouth?
let me go grab an extra blood pressure pill today.
Steve can start talking again.
I know.
Now, 1 minute, guys.
All right, we have anything from the facilities committee?
Last couple of weeks, right?
No. They're due though. We have one scheduled.
I think on the 30th.
30th.
Strategic planning and board goals. I think we're going to talk more about that later. Board policy.
Yep, we met 2 weeks ago on the 4th. They helped get me up to speed, which is very helpful. We went through 2 policies, 51, 52, that was the admission of non-residents, and incorporated all the most comments from the first reading. Same thing with policy 4327, the homebound education. So, and then there was one more thing, the offer of health insurance, which was really for anybody working more than 20 hours in a district that doesn't already covered by our health insurance, and other, it gives them the option to buy it at their own cost.
Okay.
So we're meeting again this Thursday to do the legal review of the first 2 we edited and start the couple.
Very good. All right. District Data Committee.
Yep, so we met on October 21st. That was a bit of an orientation for the committee. We talked about the SIRS reports, which is the Student Information Repository System. So that was an orientation for the District Data Committee. It was a great meeting. We had a lot of great conversation. Our next meeting is December 2nd. We'll discuss some COVID data throughout the district from the first quarter here. Enrollment data, we'll talk about 2021 regions and 3 through 8 grade level testing, and then our IXL beginning of the year data. So one thing for just the public, the data from the 2021 regions, 3 through 8 tests are not really comparable to other years because such low numbers of students who actually participated, and that's across the state. So We will look at the information that we have, the available information, but it's very hard to make generalizations based on the data. So that's from the data committee.
District Technology Committee.
So we met last week, started to really look at aligning the digital fluency and computer science learning standards with our curriculum maps. So we started with the K1 grade band. So we're going to be rolling that through every meeting, going forward. We're going to do a different grade band, similar exercises. We're really looking to better understand how technology weaves into our programs rather than be functioning as a standalone program. And then certainly creating standalone opportunities when necessary and ideal to do so. We're also going to be working on the 2022 to 25 technology plan as mandated by New York State. So that's something that we'll be using our committee work to inform that plan, which will be essentially a revised version of the update the board received over the summer, aligning to the new standards and formats that the state has dictated, just some minor changes to what was required previously. So I think it was a really good session, and look forward to having some more really positive discussions.
And I think, honestly, Elliot, I think the breaking up into those two-person groups was really effective. Because in the first meeting, a while ago, and everybody was there, and I think people hesitate to say stuff because somebody else is going to say that's stupid, or I thought it was a really well-run meeting. So just compliments.
Thank you.
All right. District Wellness.
So the district wellness committee will be a partnership this year with Holly Petty and myself. We met to sort of plan the structure of the committee for the year, focusing on multiple things, both wellness and nutrition, as well as mental health and physical fitness. So we talked about all of those things. Our first meeting will be on November 30th. And we will be looking at the district's policy on wellness. We will also be looking at the district health assessment. And anything you want to share, Holly, besides that? You're muted.
Sorry. I had a Zoom conference with Cornell Cooperative Extension. They gave us a lot of good information to move the wellness policy forward progressively and get our assessment done. So, and Caroline and I have been also met and had a great conversation to get it on a good path. So looking forward to it.
Very good. All right, monthly Dutchess County School Board Association. The interesting meeting. There's probably more questions than answers, but first of all, they offered to buy every one of the boards these, I'll call them how-to manual for boards, how to be an effective board member, how to run an effective board meeting if the audience is basically contentious. But the biggest, the biggest surprise to me was Weebatuck presented. And Weebatuck is the second poorest district in Dutchess County, behind Poughkeepsie. They're down to, I want to say, 600 kids in the entire district. Their buildings are fairly close together, which gives them sort of a campus. But they have a lot of problems with, I think, with student health, with kids that don't have insurance, all these things. So they're moving forward with opening a clinic in the school. It's operated by Operation Student, Open Student, something. I can't think of the. It's a vendor company. One of the nurses will go to work for that company. They'll do medical checkups, sports checkups, kids sick. If the kid has an ear infection, they'll send for antibiotics and they'll bring it to the school. There's a lot of questions. I mean, like things like, well, can teachers that are allowed to bring their kids, since they teach in a district, can their kids use this clinic? Can the teacher use it? Can taxpayers use it since they're paying for it? There's a lot of questions. I'm surprised that there wasn't a lot more pushback from like the anti-vaxxers, how I know what you're doing, you're getting, you can just hear some of that discussion. But it was an interesting review. I guess this is one, I want to say one in Dutchess County, but there's a lot of them up in the northern parts, a lot of counties have one of these clinics. But they're looking to offer pretty much full, I don't want to say full med, I mean, they're not going to do surgery, but like a urgent care type of thing. They're also, which confused me, is they don't have or they won't have, they don't believe, a time frame. Like if your child is sick, you're supposed to be there within 2 hours or 3, whatever it is, to pick your child up. They're not going to have that. Then the child will just, if you can't get there, the child will just rest in the urgent care place. Now, to me, that's going to make it huge, because they get 10 kids get sick at the same time. Where are you going to put them all? But it's an interesting, I'm not suggesting we do it, but it was a very interesting presentation, and it's an interesting look at, our enrollment rates continue to drop. We're not nearly at that level, and we're doing other things like pre-K to try to boost that up. But it's going to be an interesting experiment to follow. So that was basically it, I think. Anyway, the enrollment report, speak of the devil, is next. Any questions on the enrollment report? MEF, Chris, anything?
You can go if you want. I wasn't at the last meeting. Or were you at the last meeting?
I was, but I think, so I don't know if this needs to be updated. So, so now I'm serving as a liaison between Board of Ed and MEF. So,
Okay.
yeah, so we're just, passing the ball between the Chris's.
He helped me out. He took the reins of.
No, well, I didn't
know.
steal it, believe me.
No.
But, so I just didn't know if that, you might want to
Thank you.
update that. Okay. Right now, the MEF annual appeal, it will be mailed out very soon. And thank you, Laura, for making
It was coming out today.
Went out today, see? Well, you should be. It's okay. Thank you. You're more up to date than me. So thank you for your help on that. Yep. So if anyone in the community is listening, if you supported MEF in the past in any arena, you'll be receiving your annual appeal. And even if you don't receive a letter, you can still always contribute and help. So
You take cash, right, Chris?
yeah. Yeah. So
The one thing I can say, not to interrupt, we're heading into the holiday season. If you shop on Amazon, which most people do, you can go in and choose a nonprofit of your choice, Amazon Smile, and you can choose Millbrook Educational Foundation. So a percentage of every purchase you make goes to the foundation. And now it's on the app. So,
oh no, that's
yeah, you can connect on the app. In years past, you couldn't. You had to use a laptop and everything else, but a lot of people use their phones. But now you can go right in the app and set it up.
All right. Jen, PTO?
Not too much. I guess they don't really do a lot this time of year. There's a Charleston Wrap fundraiser. But they do most of their fundraising in the spring. This is, they used to do where the kids would come in and buy they'd have the little Christmas sale with the tchotchkes, number one mom and stuff like that. And this actually, it's a great idea. It's the first time they've done it. And, some of those, I don't think I'm speaking out of turn. Some of those things can get a little cheap that the little kids come in and buy, but it is fun for them. So this, it's got really, I don't know if anybody has seen it, the catalog, it's got really nice stuff. It's got dishes and wrapping paper and all this nice stuff that they asked the kids to send out. So they did that. That's really the only fundraiser they have going on now. They do more in the spring. And it ends soon. I don't remember when.
Okay. Suspension incident report, any questions or comments?
I just had just not sure what I'm looking at. I have it open right now. Under number, is that, so if it says like grade 8 and then number 2, is that the second suspension for the year for 8th grade, or what does that number mean?
It means that there were two 8th graders who were suspended.
In October.
Oh,
In
in
October,
that,
yeah.
got it. But
And then it'll list the reasons.
yeah,
in the
I see
column.
that. And then, so the length one, is that 1 day?
1 day.
For both,
Yep, they both, yeah.
for both of them. Got it.
Alright.
Okay,
All right.
thanks.
All right. Request for future agenda items. You see what we have on here. It's gonna be that time of the year soon when we have to start focusing on budget. Any requests for other stuff?
I'm just curious where, maybe I missed it. There've been a update regarding our contract with education elements, or what we're doing.
What, I'm not sure what you mean.
Educational elements. I didn't know if
Yeah,
we,
she's been running the meeting on, or the subcommittee. She's been holding the, sort of running those on goals and strategic direction.
okay,
So, and that's how we're using the rest of the funding from that contract.
okay, thanks.
Mhm. All right. All right, with that, do I have a motion to go to executive session? Do I have a
So moved.
second?
Second.
That network delay. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Hi.
Any against?
You want to wait till 8:55 to go in?
Yeah.
Thanks,
Oh,
Mike.
actually,
Well, Mike, Paul can take over.
see, Mike, we're probably gonna have like we have a guest speaker coming in for an hour and a half. So after the executive session,
I'll be back.
because Paul wants the executive session not to be last. So I got another
Oh,
hour and a half.
right,
after.
wait, I didn't look at the end of the agenda.
Paul's gonna do a presentation on unicorns. It's on his wall.
Jeez.
It's not-
No, it's not.
This is so exciting.
Oh.
That's actually Perry, that's actually my horse behind me.
Very much, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
You
Good night,
all.
Steve.
See you later, Paul.
Hey, guys.
Nice to
Meeting
meet you.
you.
Let me know.
Nice to meet you.